Welcome to the Tuesday Team Talk, and today we are going to talk to one of our key players, Nurse Jessica, aka my wife. And so Jessica has not always been in the functional medicine realm. She has a history that I will let her explain, and I'll let you tell your story and what has happened and what you have seen happen and all of that stuff. So we will start with the first question. And go ahead.
Did you want to ask me or did you want me to just answer it?
Well, why don't you just go down the line there? We'll let you go. You have the stage.
Well, first of all, I'll tell you a little bit about my past experience. So I've been a nurse, registered nurse for 12 years, and I've worked in the hospital all 12 years of it until recently, which kind of sparked from a bicycle accident. But it was just stepping stone to better things, I guess. Actually, nothing at the moment, but all of this. But I was acute med surg nurse, 12 years, worked in the ICU units, in the emergency departments, and loved it and then hated it all at the same time. In the last probably 3 to 5 years, um, just the care actually and how we delivered that care just changed. So the healthcare system has just really underwent changes, not for the best, not necessarily for nurses and not necessarily for the patients. So I just kind of delved in both worlds and come to realize that I really don't like to be in the healthcare setting anymore. So, what has functional medicine done for me, specifically and personally? Well, it's kind of changed as far as like how I work as a body system. It's been actually kind of amazing. So, I used to swell. I used to go to the doctor because I had stomach aches and my joints hurt. And I still do have joint pain, but change of diet almost immediately within 30 days, the swelling was all gone. Then the joint pains kind of subsided, but I have a lot of autoimmune issues that probably get exacerbated by different diets. So I'm allergic to tons of stuff, and every time I think I'm going to be over that, it's just a true allergy. So I have allergies to milk and dairy and gluten and a lot of meats. So when we eliminate all that, I chug along and I do just fine. So I had all kinds of problems with anemia.
Iron.
Yeah. I was going to say, I had something else on the tip of my tongue and just lost it.
You were doing GERD.
Anyway, I really changed my blood panels around and actually do really great. So I have a problem now just getting enough fats and balancing those fats, but we're still tweaking it.
She also has a very hard time taking supplements.
Yeah, I do take them, but I get pill fatigue, and as most people do when you're taking a handful, and I chug along just fine, and then one day I just can't do it anymore, so I have to take a break. But when I do take the supplements, I do much better. Why did I leave the hospital? Well, that was kind of I wasn't planning on leaving the hospital completely, but I 20 months of COVID and the idea that to fill holes in the schedule, you just make the staff work longer, harder, and more often. This really wasn't a model I wanted to follow anymore. But I've spent probably the last 5 years, at least, maybe 6, working night shift, weekend option. So I work all night long. I'd stay up on Fridays and Saturdays, of course, and then I would go to work and I would work all night and I would get off and I would maybe have an hour nap or two if I was lucky, and I'd get up and I'd go to church and I would have lunch and then I would have a little nap and I would do it all over again. And that 5 years ago, that was okay. I was just able to do that. And as I got older and I just didn't want to do it anymore. I was tired and I was sick and I just was unhappy.
Third shift is not conducive to health.
No, and we had a little aura ring and the heart rate variability, my sleep cycles. I was grumpy. I didn't want to eat, or it was just miserable. And then COVID hit, and we spent 20 months in the ICUs and step downs, and the nurses left, and tempers flared, and it just got exhausting. It was mentally exhausting, and everybody died, and you couldn't save them, and you didn't have we had all the resources at our hands, but yet the staff, it, and then just going in and day out, just watching people get worse and not better. It just takes a toll.
Mentally
So,
taxing on her really tore her up.
and it's not just me, it was my friends. Like, everybody is tired, and we would see that, everybody has diabetes or new onset diabetes, and that's kind of what, in the heart disease, and there was kind of some precursors to the ventilators, and we kind of knew which patients were going to do good and which patients were going to do bad, and you would take care of these people for weeks and months, and then they would be gone, and it was just not okay.
Hold on, let's back up 1 second there, because something very important was said there. Because of COVID, and this, just go do your own research. Look at the countries that have the most obesity, have the most diabetes, have the most metabolic syndrome, and you will notice that those hospitals, those areas, those countries are also the countries that have the most death from COVID-19. So you can actually look at that, and they correlate quite well. And I'm not even the first person to say this, and I haven't said anything about it until I saw somebody put on LinkedIn that he's a host of one of those political things, and he's on what I would call the other side. And he basically was sitting down on CNN, and he was like, the narrative is wrong. And he goes, and we're looking at this all wrong. He goes, and what I just said about look at the countries with the most metabolic syndrome, the most obesity, and the most diabetes, and America is one of them. And we actually lead the world in it. And we also lead the world in the most deaths from COVID-19. And then it looks as you look at the country and look at the deaths, and they rank out quite nicely, and they rank out the same. So what she noticed in the hospitals with COVID-19 and seeing people with new onset or people with diabetes and not having a good outcome, that's how it played out in there. So I just want to point that out because it's starting to show, but you're not going to hear about that. You're not going to hear about, hey, take care of yourself. What are your vitamin D levels? Are you good on your C, zinc, selenium, and copper? Are those in balance? You don't hear that. You hear, oh, go get the save your vaccine. And sorry, I'm being a little snide.
Yeah. So most people in the healthcare field went into nursing or being a doctor or physical therapist or respiratory therapist and all those people in between because they wanted to help people. And, you have passion for that, and that's how you live your life. But COVID has kind of changed that. And I of course, wanted to go in and change the world. So I just didn't feel like I was doing that anymore. Like, we were just running with our butts on fire, and we were supposed to be there to advocate for the patient at all costs and advocate for ourselves. And then, you take care of the patient and do their will, and then your body, your choice, and you advocate for that. And then they take your choice away as a healthcare worker. So I am vaccinated. I would have probably never got vaccinated. Probably will never get vaccinated again. I had a horrible reaction, but I'm all about whatever you need to do to make yourself happy and to make yourself feel safe. Then that's your body, it's your choice, and you do whatever makes you happy. But when you take the choices away from people and then state, you'll do this or you won't have a job, then especially when you're in the world of healthcare where you advocate for the people you care for and it is their body and their choice, and you support that, as a healthcare worker, when you take that choice and right away to manage your own life and your own body, that's not okay.
Well, it's the irony of it. You've been in that
that
environment for how many months?
20 months. We took care of people, and we give up, and not just me, but we as a group of people that have really given their life to take care of others. We give up the holidays, we give up the weekends, we give up time with our families, and then they want more and more and more and more and more, and there's nothing given. And for me, that wasn't okay anymore. I've done it long enough. So I'm tired of not being with family and friends and holidays. So I decided I was going to step out and do something different, and then had a bicycle accident, which left me unemployed and uninsured and mobile at the moment. But and I am actually a stressor, so I freak out over things like that, and I kind of just have got to let it go to God, and He'll take care of the family and guide me where He needs me to go. So that's kind of why I left the hospital scene, and I'm not sure that I want to step back in it, honestly. And I enjoy working. I enjoy working with people. I do say I don't like people. I like dogs, and that is true. I do like dogs better than people, but I do like to help people and care for them in a manner and I didn't even really know that we were kind of symptom based, but a healthcare model, we treat symptoms. We don't really actually take care of anything. I feel like there's a few doctors and a few practitioners that would like to get to the root of the problem, but the healthcare model doesn't allow them to do that. When they don't have the time, they have the resources, and there's probably plenty of money in the insurance world, but there's no time. And then patients dictate their own care in a bad way. So they come into the hospital and they want cared for, but then yet they don't want to do the things that they need to do to get better. So the patients that are seen in a functional medicine world, we actually, as healthcare workers, try to get to the root of the problem and listen to what their symptoms are, find out what triggers them, and then fix the problem. And usually the problem starts at the gut or sleep or stress, but it's not all about just giving a pill for an ill and treating a symptoms. It's actually managing the symptoms at a root level. So fix the problem and you don't have the symptoms.
What have you liked about working with our patients?
I like the patients, and I enjoy learning their stories, and seeing how everything works together. The blood labs, the tests, and actually kind of their journey, like their life journey that brought them from point A to point B. And for me, I like to see how the triggers fall out in their timeline. And that always is fascinating to me. And it's kind of an aha moment for the patient that's sitting there when they actually see their symptoms and the triggers all fall together. And then actually, taking that onion and taking off all the layers and really getting to the problem. And a lot of times for them, they have to kind of do homework inside of themselves and figure out, coming to the realization that they have a lot of homework, because a lot of times it's just a lot of baggage that they've held from their past. It's just manifesting in their life. And I enjoy sitting with them. We have a lot of patients just look at their screen and they just cry. And then you're like, and they think that they're the only ones, but actually almost 100% of our patients will sit there at some point in time when we've made them cry. And I'm just going to tear up just thinking of them sitting there. But it's rewarding. You don't get a lot of, obviously you don't make any money off of it, but we don't do it for the money. And a lot of times it's just the rewards are so much bigger than a paycheck. So we enjoy that.
Yep. And so what has functional medicine done for the family?
Well, I have two children, Gracie and Casey, and, they're both at an odd age. Like my son's 21 And now he is getting to become his own person, and he makes those choices for himself. And then you kind of realize that, yeah, they have to make those choices for themselves. So you give them all the tools and hope that they will use them wisely. And he's busy and he goes to school, and it's easy to grab those potato chips or whatever, but it's neat watching him circle back, and now he brings home the organics. And at first, he's a teenager that grew up to be a young man and frugal, so he wants to save money. So he gets the clearance stuff, and then I'm like, yeah, that's probably not the best choice. But then realizing that the more you tell him it's not the best choice, they kind of rebel silently. So then he brings it more, and then now he will look for the hair products, and he'll pay a little more money because he makes sure that they don't have the chemicals, and the deodorant doesn't have all of the aluminum, and his food choices are becoming better. He's got a lot of work to do, but you can tell when he's on the wagon and not on the wagon based on his complexion and just his moods, honestly.
Well,
Now,
he's getting to the point that he sees that it's going to cost him sooner or later
Yeah.
because he gets to look at older family members.
yeah, it'll cost you in the beginning or it'll cost you in the end, but eventually you'll pay for it. And then Gracie, she's just had a fabulous diet really all of her life. She started out as a neonate in NICU and spent several months there. And I just had learned and grew as a person, and then evolved even stronger on, towards health and organic. So she's actually always had a fabulous diet. But she visits and other people, and she likes her McDonald's, and she'll rebel a little bit, but
We don't give her McDonald's.
she started out in a little tiny body with a big spirit, and it's grew into even stronger. We call her the drama queen, but at one point I probably toted around at least a dozen prescriptions for her, and she took those throughout the day. And as she grew, and she's got some allergies as well. I just think that's just predisposed hereditary. So she's allergic to like milk and soy and oranges and things like that. But we take 0 prescriptions. We have an albuterol inhaler for emergency purposes only, but we haven't used that in probably over a year and a half. But we used all herbal products with her and supplements, and she's doing fabulous.
And what about our oldest family member?
Granny is that's my mother, so she has a whole bunch of autoimmune disorders, which was probably where she passed those down, and it didn't start with just her, but her family members. And
We get our mitochondria from our mother.
Yeah, she started out at 135 pounds a couple years ago, looked great, and just she has lupus, and she has and she wouldn't care if I told you, she'd tell you herself. Several other autoimmunes, and she doesn't eat well, and I think she kind of embraced her disease like so many other people do. Like, I don't know, it's not necessarily, I don't think that it gets them attention. I don't know why people do it, but they own their disease, and it becomes them, and people are so much bigger than their diagnoses. And we started her on bone broth, and her iron kept falling, and she'd have one procedure after another procedure, and would come home proudly with another script until there was no answers. And I was worried about, she was still becoming anemic, and I was kind of worried about cancer, but she did go visit an oncologist who told her that, that wasn't the case with her. And then, so we've been pushing nutrition, and she started drinking her bone broth. So we started making it for her, and, just started taking over food, and she started drinking it. So now she drinks it daily, and slowly we are coming,
turning the corner.
So her blood counts are going up and not down. So nutrition has a big part, but until you're really willing or able to embrace it and think about it and actually do something about it, it's just hard. But I look at it from her perspective. She's disabled, and she's on a fixed income, and she's really just, surviving. And we don't want people to just survive. We want them to thrive. So we've kind of tried to think about, how can we help our patients thrive on a lower budget? So that's going to be kind of our goal for like a couple months, just
We're
to see
designing an experiment.
what we can do on a fixed limited income. And I'm not really sure how it changed the clinic.
Think about our patients.
I think our patient load is different in the way we've designed. Well, I think it's like when you start thinking differently in your own head, then you start looking at the way you do design your clinic and organize the clinic.
I'm giggling because we had this discussion. It is sometimes hard to be healthy, and it's almost like it's designed that way. We had the discussion about the creamer today, and I was like, we'll just cancel the creamer and we'll go online and
well, we'll just talk about the creamer.
And we couldn't do it.
So COVID, I mean, we would never want anybody to get COVID on our watch. We don't want people to get sick. We want them to come in and feel safe, and we want to care for them, and we don't want anybody to get sick. So we brought the coffee back. It's coffee, but hey, it's coffee and tea and whatever, to make people feel welcome. And we have, our stevia leaf or whatever it is that's healthiest, or whatever you want to think about that.
Doesn't spike your insulin or blood sugar.
We use cream, like oat milk creamer or almond creamer. And I spend a little more money and buy a healthier brand, but we can't provide that in the clinic because you can't use multi-use things. So we need single-use things, and there's nothing out there. Coffee Mate creamer. So I'm like, well, I mean, Coffee Mate creamer. So he's like, no, that's no good. And I'm like, well, that's the best we can do. Otherwise, it's powder. And he's like, well, we can go on Thrive, or you can go look at something different. And I'm like, okay, well, give me that and I will go look. But there's nothing out there. Your choices are powdered non-dairy creamer or Coffee Mate,
which comes in individual packets.
So yeah, there's nothing out there. So anybody,
if somebody has an idea on that, I just drink black coffee, and I use Golden Fusion. Everybody knows turmeric. This is something to talk about also, because this works in our own lives. This is what we do. Turmeric is not the end all be all. It's not even the next big thing or superfood. It's something that you should just use every day. It's something you should cook with. It's something you can add turmeric to anything and you can't really taste it. But the benefits that it has for the body, that's like any of the spices. We're going to brine a turkey, and we're going to do a turkey we have a few local functional medicine patients. We have 5 of them that have committed. And so we're going to brine a turkey, and I'm doing an all natural turkey with a healthy brine, so that it's just the way we live. We don't look at things as, and it's great to have a partner, teammate, wife, all of those things that thinks the same way, because then you look at things and say, it is kind of binary. It's either on or off. Is it healthy or is it not? There is no in between. It's either going up or it's going down. And so when we see that and we do that, those are the things that they're easier to do. Now, when you have a split home and one person doesn't care and the other person does care, it makes it hard. We try to do our consults with partners, husband, wives, and that, because it just makes it easier to get the whole house on board.
Yep. And we're not perfect. Like, we're not perfect. We fail each other all the time. We fail others all the time. Like, we work on it every day. Like,
yeah,
we fail our diets, we fail our relationships, we fail our friends, and that's not just true of us, it's true of everybody. So the only thing that you can really do is just continue to try,
learn from your failures,
and carry on. So, you know, we sit here and we talk about it.
But that helps us
but
too.
we fail every day. So the only thing we can do is try harder and look at things differently. And it's a mindset. And for me, that's probably been the biggest challenge in my own head is the mindset. And, you know, thinking about things differently and then choosing to be different and then to react different.
And remember, the choices that you make, if you're choosing to be healthy, they're good for your kids too. Your children should absolutely learn to eat a healthy diet. And that's, the way that you eat should be the way that they eat. Now babies are a little different. They should be nursing, and then you should be taking care of their foods and stuff like that. So, did we cover everything? I know you got to go get Gracie. So, I think we got everything. So, with that being said, hi, Kathy. We were on a roll. With that being said, we are going to say adieu. She's going to go get Gracie, and I'm going to finish doing some maintenance stuff. I got another patient to work up, and we will see you on Thursday.
See you later.